Hi, it's April from April Miller Coaching. And this morning, as I'm recording it this morning, I was thinking about my next video on how the toxic environment that I was in affected my adult life with my relationships. And so, the last time I touched on my life through college and how I dealt with low self esteem and I made some really not so good choices. It was kind of bittersweet. On the plus side, I was out of the house and away from the negative, but I had to come back to do my student teaching because I couldn't live on my own without doing it. So during the end of my student teaching, my friend who had met in college, she had called me because she needed a roommate at her apartment in the city that was about 2 hours away, and it was right outside where I went to college. Um, I was so happy. I said yes, and you know, of course, in the back of my head, I had that guilt of, okay, well, is this the right choice? Should I be doing this? Is this okay? And I thought, no, this is my choice. I'm an adult. Um, I was reluctantly, quote unquote, allowed to move up there, so I did. So now, I had that freedom. So I was really happy about that because during student teaching, I was not very happy at all. And then, of course, while out of the house, I'm an adult. We went out, we had fun, and I started dating. But I continued to make some not so good choices. At this point, I was heavier than I ever have or than I ever was in my life. I look back on my pictures and it's just disgusting. Um, but I had really low self esteem because of that. It's interesting. We want to think positive about ourselves, of course. Um, we always want that no matter what size and what we look like. We want to feel good about ourselves because internally that's the best. But externally, unfortunately, with society and the natural way that we behave and think about ourselves, um, you know, in the very back of our heads. And I know people that say, I'm fine, I feel great. But if you really search in the back of your head, you're probably unhappy with something, being overweight. And that's how I was. So I was kind of in a denial where I dressed up in these really cute clothes, and I look back now going, "Oh, good God, who let me, who let me dress like that?" Um, so if we fast forward through my 20s and my 30s, I dated, and life went on, and the guys that I chose to date, they all seem very different, but when I look back now, they're very, very alike. And it wasn't until later in life that I realized um, that the environment that I was brought in, it really truly affected every relationship that I was in. I always chose the unavailable. It was a usually temporary relationship. There were several emotionally abusive and one that was physically abusive. And this all stemmed from believing that I didn't deserve much, that I was not good enough, and that stemmed way back from when I was a child. And so I believe that's how I used to pick those relationships. Um, and it was subconscious because of like most women, I'm not saying everybody, but most women, we want that white picket fence, we want to be married, we want the family. So I truly wanted that part, but I never got it. But I believe that's why. Because I remember acquaintances, like people that I'd think that they could be friends, or even um, other actual friends, kind of blaming me for these relationships. They blame me for well, you don't know how to pick them, just negative stuff like that. I look back now, and it really made me angry, and I was a very angry person back then. But I didn't know where that anger stemmed from and why the relationships were the way they were. So instead of somebody understanding where I was coming from and that I had a story and there was a reason for all my actions, instead I got angry. People were negative towards me. And now I look back, I'm thinking, really? Like, I really want to be in that emotionally abusive relationship. Like, I really want to be in that physical relationship. I mean, seriously, who the hell wants to do that? When there's women or men that are in bad relationships, I want to implore everybody, they're not choosing that. That's not their ideal thing. There's something else going on that they're not seeing, and that's why they're choosing those relationships. And it's people. it's, people like us that need to say, reach out and be their friend and be there for them and help them out and everything, instead of just letting them suffer because they probably have no idea what they're doing, just like I didn't. But as I grew up and matured more, I still hadn't made that connection just yet. So that was just, I had actually made that connection not too long ago. Back then I realized I want to settle down. In 2008, I had a child. I wasn't married or in a relationship when that happened. It wasn't how I wanted things to be done, but I accepted the fact, it happened. I went through a lot of grief with that. I questioned my choices. I went through every single choice that I had. It was a tough, very tough time. And I started feeling guilty because I wasn't providing what I felt was a complete family. I was a single mom, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And I've had to do that for the past 8 years. And I've had to have the role of dad and mom. And it was a very, very hard adjustment to make. At this point, I was still a little bit negative, very untrustworthy of people. My dating life slowed down a bit after I had my daughter, but I was still finding the wrong guys. Again, they were all unavailable. One was a narcissist sociopath, in which I really didn't find out until after everything was said and done. I actually went to counseling with that. It was a very emotional struggle for me that I didn't realize what had happened. And so then last September 2016, I met my now fiance. But at the beginning, I was still affected by my past. It was very rough for us at the beginning, but I didn't see that. I thought I was fine. And when I first started dating him, it was very confusing for him. Let's just say that, because I was acting in ways that to him were not normal. I got very annoyed easily. I wasn't trusting. I questioned everything. I had extreme expectations. And the one thing that really was trying for us is that when he did nice things for me that, he thought, well, duh, everybody should be treated this way. I questioned it, and I questioned why. Why are you doing that? And we nearly broke up because of that. But something kept us together. In the past, I would have easily walked away and said, just, F it. But something was, and I was very good at that, by the way. I was very good at just walking away and saying, screw it. But something was making me fight for this relationship, and I wasn't quite sure. It was a very strange feeling. And during this time that I was with him, and even a little bit before him, I was listening to some podcasts on my phone for just my own professional development with my business, April Miller Coaching. And I actually came across a relationship podcast, and the topic really fit what was going on with us. I was determined to try to make this work because something was keeping me there. So I kept trying to find topics to listen to and to act upon, immediately. When I was listening to this certain podcast, I stopped in my tracks. I usually multitask when I listen to them, but I had stopped and really listened to the entire thing. And there was a book that was mentioned, and I immediately got onto Amazon and ordered it because this was it. And the book was called When the Past is Present, Healing the Emotional Wounds That Sabotage Our Relationship. This book literally saved my life. It made my relationship with my now fiance, even stronger. It took a little bit to read it. I communicated with him. We have great communication, which again is very odd. It still is kind of hard to still have and accept, because that wasn't something that happened in the environment I was brought up in. But I discovered that I was starting to do something called transference. And this means, I was so used to being treated one way for so long, I expected everyone to treat me this way. And when they didn't, I responded negatively. So that's what transference is. It was very tough for my fiance to truly understand that last part, why I responded negatively. Because, logically, why would you respond negative to someone who's treating you well? But I shared some information from the book, and I read some things to him and shared that. And while it was strange to him, he started to really understand, and we had a lot of good conversations. And I'm not saying that I'm cured. I'm not saying that I'm healed, or whatever you want to call it. I'm still working on these things from the past. I'm very, very honored and blessed to be with somebody who wants to help me work on these things within myself. Um, but the most important thing is that him and I have open communication. And like I said, that's very new to me. It's still very odd. And we talk about things that bother us before they even reach the explosion stage. Again, that's new and strange. I've never had true open communication. And what I used to do is ignore the issue or the complication that occurred, or instead it would reach an explosion stage right away without, talking about it. And so I know that those things weren't healthy, but I didn't know any other way, and I wasn't with somebody that could help me show me the steps for doing that. So I guess overall, it's, everybody does have a story. It's very true. And, what's funny is that I'm an applied psych major, and I've always understood that. And I've always understood, basic thoughts and how people deal with things, but I've never looked at it within myself. Because it's challenging. I can look at other people, I can look at children and go, okay, that's why they act the way they do. When you look at yourself, it's totally different. So instead of being upset with people by the way they act or things that they say, reach out and see if you can help them. More often than not, they're wanting someone to reach out to them and help them, and that's how I was. I needed somebody to reach out. I needed somebody to be there for me. I needed somebody to help me with my self-esteem. I have two very good friends that are now my bridesmaids in my wedding, and they have stuck with me through thick and thin. And that was the start of helping me get through this. I'm also very thankful that my fiance was the person that was the main person with all of this. I'm in a very positive spot in my life. I'm very happy. I'm relaxed. And I've been for quite some time now. While I go through some challenges because it's different, it's still working and I'm still going through that process, and things are better than ever. So all it takes is one person. It just takes one person to reach out to that other person. And even if they deny you, don't give up on them, because that's what I needed. And until that happened, I really was miserable and lost and in a very bad position. So anyways, I hope you enjoy this podcast, and have a great day. Bye.